welcome, and this is the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network, your number one source of information, education, and entertainment. For honest, responsible, and dependable information, we stand supreme. To stay focused, inspired, and relaxed, choose green.
Ekabo, and welcome to the Ifa Orisa Tradition Discussion Program. And introducing the host for today's program, as usual, is Baba Iwaliwa.
Sabo aboye aboshishe ekabo. Opening the thing today within Iriwo, actually blessing of abundance. So we say as do both Yoruba and English. Ini Ifa Orisa community or more Trinidad and Tobago. We are the children of Ifa Orisa community, the child of this Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. More being we beg you, Ifa, Kinile Kewodi, rise us above all misfortune in our lifetime.
Sure.
Kyo ba mi di ona ofo, kyo ba mi di ofo, kyo ba mi di ona ejo, kyo ba mi di ona ibi, kyo ba mi di ona eshu. Close the way of losses, close the way of losses for our children, our mates, our family, close the way of litigation, close the way of negativities, close the way of disruptions from the spirit of the trickster. Kyo jeki awon omo araye boro. Mi pel molo wolo wo, pe mi ni, pe mi nola, pe mi bimon rere ati bebe. Let the whole world hear of us with riches, honor, prestige, and good children.
Sure.
Ki eso ibi, de rere fu mi ni bokbo jo aye mi. Ki emi reso wo, ki emi gun ki ara mi, ki ola.
Sure.
Ki namara ayipada. Di buru lojo aye mi ati bebe. Turn evil to good throughout all the days of our on earth, that we might be rich, that our life will be lengthened, and that our health will always be good, and that
let it be so.
May not reach us in all the days of the world. Ki asin je fumi ni awon ki awon araye wa ma ba mi. Rawo jati mo ba ni ti wara ipeko epe ndelodo. Open the way of wealth that the whole world will want the produce of our hands. Let pass us by. Ki eso mi di puporugu rere. Ki mi rowo sa wo ori. Ki mi rowo sa wi oru mi ati bebe. Be blessed for good, that we will always have the money to pay our debts. May we always do good things in the world. Remove all obstacles wherever we go in the world. So, as we celebrated the day today, well, that's the International Day of Earth, recognized by United Nations. The Ifa Orisa or the Orisa community does partake in doing it. Celebration. I think I had a number of years they have stopped, but they continue today. And well, it was a progressive movement, and there are lots I think we need to add, and we should always work to improve. So I hope that the community, they improve their work, take it to other levels in terms of when we celebrate Mother Earth. As I mentioned to some elders and persons of titles, we should at some point celebrate and have a festival for Ajay Shaluga Omo Olokun Senyadi, Ajay, the spirit of wealth, the daughter of Olokun Senyadi, that we may invite wealth into our community, because we look at things and, we may pass it as something had happened, but there are things we could correct. For when we celebrated the day today was a part of a parcel of land that was 150 acres. Now, even if we look at where they had put the housing development, I think it's only about 50 acres would have been used there. So is we to ask the question, what happened to the other 100? You know? But I won't put that on nobody. I'll put that on my own inquiry and my own investigations. And, you know, we have to start to build wealth in our community. There's a reading when we speak of Onile, Spirit of the Earth, who provides for us, gives us all our blessings, all our sustenance, carry us. You know, we exist because the earth exists. And there's a saying where Orishas exist on earth because this is where they have to exist. I know people may have other viewpoints, but you know, we don't really hear about Orisha on Mars, Jupiter, Pluto, and all these other planets, but you may hear about Urumale, which will be existed in those astral planes. So Orishas being elemental spirits, that means they have to exist in this element that we have, that we are bound to, earth, water, fire, and air. And even the Odus, you can separate the Odus in the 4 elements, earth, water, fire, and air. And they all exist because the earth exists. And this is why sometimes we talk about us as nature worshippers, Orisha practitioners. We should put emphasis in being more involved in environmental issues, planting trees, planting land, planting food, reaping, harvesting, and we can sell, because even wealth is part of our practice and tradition. You can't keep praying for wealth. They say, no, the only cure for poverty is work. And if we pull together and work together, I think we could cure and remove poverty in our community.
Sure.
So it's something we have to, you know, keep a deeper conversation in terms of getting people really to get out there and start to work. When we look at history as Africans and in the diaspora, I'll say in the diaspora, you know, a lot of people like to boast that Africa built America, Africa built England, Africa built Italy, Rome, and all these places, but they did it for free. So maybe we could build our empire for free because we will benefit from it. You know, no way behind our back, but we could build it for we will benefit at the end of it and acquire the wealth we're supposed to acquire. So we have all the energies to make our life easy. It's just we have to pull together in unity and practice the right way. Today I had the opportunity to communicate with some youths and encourage them to learn Ifa the right way. Don't learn Ifa as a practice to be a diviner, but Ifa is what will guide us to the principles of living the Ifa Orisa lifestyle. You know, the way of life they expected and we can benefit from it is not just looking at practicing to be a diviner, but living according to the principles of Ifa Orisa. You know, and I think the conversation was much appreciated, and well, I feel good because I say our work is not for us who had passed through the many years, but those who have to come after us, that they could find something solid. And I think there were our programs and other things that we are promoting supposed to really project that the younger ones could gather better insight and lead a different lifestyle. Not moving away from the tradition, not moving away from our old ways, but move forward with a deeper understanding and appreciation of how important their purpose is, because they are the future. They will be the leaders of the tomorrow for the younger ones who are after them. Right? So as we celebrating our day, I would just like to read Odu from, I think some Ofun, but I'll just go with the English. If the earthworm pays homage to the earth will give it access. A little child never pays homage and is found to be destroyed in the consequence of it. This Odu speaks of the first creation of the world and how, when Ofun was confronted with the weakness on earth, he called upon Oshe to rule the world with him. Ofun himself was stern, merciless, and kept ruthlessly to what was right and pure, while Oshe took delight in punishing all wickedness. At some point, the inhabitants of earth grew tired of their despotic ways and gathered together in an attempt to expel Ofun and Oshe from Ut. Following this, the incident Ofun took, together with Ogun and Olokun, decided that Orunmila should be the chief of the world. Orunmila brought the spirit of Ela to earth and allowed its wisdom to penetrate the earth as it had done in heaven, so that everything in creation could be wise. Ela, however, preferred to dwell in caves and subterranean tunnels where she holds communion with Oduduwa. Ela was the first Babalawo of Orun, the principle of wisdom itself, whose name usually is translated as heaven knows salvation. In a call to human beings to bring divine wisdom into their lives so that the darkness can become enlightened. Our whole there. So it's saying there are certain things, certain aspects of the tradition we don't pay attention to as Ela. You know, every Babalawo will always pay attention to Ela first. I say, Ela Rowa, Ela Rowa, Ela Rowa, Ela Wao, Bino Bello Koke Walio, Bino Bello Do, De Walio, Bino Bello Koke Walio, Ela Rowa, Ela Rowa, Ela Rowa. Ela please descend. Now, the existence of Ela, as the Ofun story tells, is all in the caves and the terrains and the swamp. I mean, it's not flashing out there where you can see it, but Ela is the spirit of manifestation. So, being the spirit of manifestation, whatever action that we do is a manifestation of a thought, idea, vision that can come into form. So, technically, Ela is everything that we do to bring our results. He is the culmination of wisdom itself. So the first Babalawo would have been Ela, who would have dispersed wisdom that even Orunmila had to seek his guidance. So when you see the connection of Ela and Onile or Aye, the earth has a lot of wisdom that we are yet to even comprehend. Because when you look, Ogun is in the earth, Oshun is in the earth, Orisha Oko manifests in the earth, Osupa, the moon or light up there, its manifestation is seen on the earth with the waves, with how we plant in our season. So if we plant on the moon in a particular thing, the crop will go according to the moon that you plant in. You cut a tree in a certain moon, it'll either wither faster or it'll stand strong, depending on the sequence of the moon. So our existence on earth, and as practitioners of Ifa Orisa, we must pay attention to earth and the environment that we live in, because that is an important factor. Even when we study, as you just teach astronomy and astrology, it is how the planetary impacts on the earth and the vibration that is sent for us. Yes, Mars, Jupiter, Pluto, all these planets out there, but all the impact comes back to us. And even if we look at the galaxy, and I say galaxy has come like a Babalawo sit down and all his akapos, initiates, and those preparing or non-initiate to think. It comes just as the solar system. The Babalawo come like he's or the Opon Ifa come like he's the sun. The Babalawo comes like he's the planet Earth, and he now connects with all the Awos and Kapos, all the initiate, non-initiates, and bring the message of Ifa to share back to them. So most everything that we invoke the Odu, but when we invoke Odu really taps into everybody that is there, all the vibrations, all the Oris, and they just come back and give a message. So even if you might be sitting on getting a divination, when the message comes, you know the message for everybody that is sitting on there? Everybody who's sitting on there really is that message for them as well. You might be responsible to do the ebo, but actually everybody there is supposed to heed to the message and instruction that Ifa would have given through that divination.
Sure.
You know? So all these things we have to basically understand in the practice of Ifa Orisa and how what we communicate to the people. So that's why I say I try to communicate that people with basically understand Ifa. Once you understand Ifa, even as I initiate, non-initiate, now it gives you encouragement to study Ifa at a different level. And in studying Ifa, non-initiates will now understand why it is important to initiate. And initiates now see why it's important that you have to pay attention to the usher. The usher is not just a ritual, it is a practice to understand and getting your ability to communicate with Ifa. Now, if you're communicating with Ifa and you don't have literature or you don't know the odus or the message of Ifa, then how would you really be communicating? Oh, Ifa accept the offering. That's it. No, there was a message there. Even if you die the OB, there's still a message in the OB. So you have to understand the basic stories of the EB and the Ire of the offering, the blessings or the obstructions when you die your OB. And how we can understand to interpret the message, we have to be able to start to now go into the words, understand Ifa, understand the different translations of the orikis, the essays, what they mean, and when the formulation. But we continue to try to grow, but grow just on the practice. When I say the practice, sing, say oriki, beat drum, dance, manifest. I not know is not a knocking that say bad, but those are just the what they say the peripheral of the tradition. You understand? Because there are songs where you can even invite Awo to dance. You understand? What is Awo? Joko, get up and dance, Awo. I am Awo, you are Awo, get up and dance. You know? So people, I think, you might hear the song and think it's some big song, but really I'm inviting us to dance. Even in dancing, we know that is a fundamental part in the tradition. That most people think the dancing is only based when a manifestation comes, that they dance. But like I say, how long? Now, something I was going to ask you, let's take off our shoes and stand on Mother Earth and connect and resonate. Now, for me to bring that in the people program, they say I'll bring in necromancy or something. But if we understand, if we really want to connect with Onile, it's to take off our shoes and stand up on the earth and do the invocations, call on Onile, and allow her to influence us. Because most time I'll say, well, I was explaining to you the difference with manifestation and possession. Most time people get possession. That's when they dance and they thing and their whole state of trance is altered. I always say manifestation is when we are connected to these orishas and we allow the orisha to express itself through we still in our highest level of consciousness. So we can speak and understand what you're speaking and you can clearly get our message to the people so they could understand rather than you may get a manifestation, as they call it, but you're speaking in a language that nobody really understand. Go, da, and you're speaking, and then all we say is Ashe, like we really understand. Yes, the message, the spirit gave a message. But we have to start to really connect with the elements. Connect with Mother Earth, connect with Oshun, the spirit of water, Aina is fire.
Well, Baba, I would like to say that a great part of understanding the role of the earth as human beings is acknowledging the creator Olodumare and the fact that even before man was made, that the earth was created. He called Obatala, the oldest among all the Orishas, who's considered, of course, to be an archdivinity, to his presence. And he instructed him to go and create the earth. Many of the other Orishas were sent later, but the very first part of our creation story is that Obatala received the assignment and he was sent
to create
to earth with a bag, and in this bag contained the snail shell, a hen, a pigeon, a chameleon, right? And the shell that he had contained sacred earth,
Take it good.
which was used to start the earth. Now,
Before I go
is
further,
is
I
I
just want
want to I want to go a little further before you interrupt me.
to say to listeners, this is not the creation of the earth, but to make the earth habitable for human to exist on it. Eh? All right, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I want to talk a little bit about this shell that contained the particles
Yeah, Shay.
that formulated the dry land. The symbol of the shell is recognized in many cultures, but we would stay with the cultures that belong to us, whether it be Kemetic, or other West African cultures. The symbol of the shell is associated to something that is called the golden ratio. The golden ratio is the archetype that has been discovered to be the pattern from which all things in the
All things
universe
are
are
answered.
made.
Yeah, it's true.
So, as much as many of the traditional stories related to the creation of the earth may appear to be mythical and fantasy, it is very scientific. And through this analogy of the seashell and the sand, we find this concept of the golden ratio being present. That is the model for every molecule, every atom,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything that is physically manifested. So, this, in fact, is our creation story, and it is a very advanced knowledge. It's not a simple knowledge. And within the framework of Ifa, we find many explanations for everything that exists in both the known and the unknown universe, because we don't know everything, as knowledge is infinite.
True.
So, as Awo, we are exposed to many of the mysteries through learning Ifa, and the journey of learning is a lifetime journey. So, understanding Ifa is not something that we may accomplish in one lifetime,
True.
right? So, that's why I just wanted to add to
Yeah.
what you spoke about.
No, and what I say is correct. And just as I told the youth today, you go to school to learn to read and to write. Learn to read and write well. Because most time, all the other thing is based on how your ability to read and to write. So even speaking in terms of the golden rule, if you check the top of your head to your navel and from your navel to your feet, if you check the calculation, give you the golden rule. All right. If you take from one point, from the North Pole to a certain point, and then they take it from that point, go back to where you started, the golden rule. I can't remember the number right now, but there's a number where the calculation will give you that equal the golden rule. Even in terms of from your eye, from your top of your head to the center of your eyes to the bottom of your chin, will give you the same ratio of the golden rule.
Well, the golden rule ratio is actually 1.618.
1.618, right?
Yeah, that's the exact
That,
measurement for the
that's a
golden rule.
big thing. All right. So in terms of, so even in terms of all science, all understanding, all wisdom, whatever manifests on the earth, just as Ifa will give a basic story of his incarnation, how this came into the world, it also could take into the esoteric or the metaphysics, the metaphysics of everything. And it's all based on what level of Ifa that one is practicing.
Well, another thing that I love too about Ifa, beside it being a repository of knowledge and beside it containing explanations for everything that exists both in the known and unknown universe, Ifa also provides some very basic, simple, fundamental explanations, instructions for the practice of a person's life to help one improve one's life and for one also to find a great sense of balance.
Right. So even if in terms of what we are speaking of in Ofun, I'll just go and tell the pattern again. Ofun explains why we tend to see the world in dualist terms, as the right and left hands fighting each other. This is caused by the panorama of human experience spanning from darkness to light. Often is a closed calabash of mystery, but when the mystery is exposed, experience generates various forms of perception and philosophies in accord to the concept of diversity found there. So again, how we experience Ifa.
Well, Baba, I mean, we could talk like what you just read. We could discuss many of the mysteries. For
Yeah,
example, Ofun is last on earth, but Ofun is first
the force of the
in
hierarchy.
Orun,
Mm,
right? But what is first on earth is Ogbe
mm.
and Oyeku,
Thank you.
which represent both light
And darkness.
and darkness. It represents day and night. It
Mm.
represents sun and moon.
Uh,
So, I mean, there's a lot of mysteries
establishing.
we could discuss. But coming down to the most fundamental level, right? When we talk about Ori,
Mm,
when we talk about Orikis, Orins, we talk about the use of these things in our everyday practical application. We
mm,
use the Orikis, for example, in order to call out to our own inner consciousness and to
mm,
our higher spiritual self
mm.
so that we would be able to walk in harmony with the purpose for which we are here. The
Go.
term we use to describe this is destiny.
Mm,
Now, because every man has a destiny, and because that destiny is designed to help enhance life here on earth, we come right back to the same earthly principle and rules that to a great extent influences the way we operate with each other and the way we operate in tune with everything on this planet. You see, the tradition, the Isheshe that we promote deals with living harmoniously in our environment with our environment. We must, it is it is deeply ingrained and impressed upon us that if we were to live in harmony with nature, not only would we preserve things that are in the environment so that all the future generations would have access, but to a great extent also that would open up our ability to experience both abundance and wealth and well-being, which is you were talking about Aj, you know? It is deeply tied into the earth because every form of wealth and abundance that we know on this planet comes from the earth.
so from you,
Yeah, it might be refined. We use the glasses, we wear these glasses, but the glasses is made of materials that came from the earth. The
yeah.
glass is made of sand, and the frames is made of other things that are extracted from the earth with the petrochemicals that produce the plastics, produce the fuels. It produces practically everything we find useful that we find on this planet. So it is very, very important because when we speak of the earth and Mother Earth and paying respects to Mother Earth, it is our responsibility to not injure and to not abuse the things that we are able to appreciate. So
Yeah.
that those who come after us, which is part of our Isheshe
Mm.
would be able to appreciate the things that we currently enjoy.
And as there was a time I shared a post on one of these platforms. Um, well, it was about wealth. And I said we had to start to now to really connect because we are the communicators with the Orishas of wealth. But how do we take ourselves to that next level? Because when we look at it, Exxon know where to find the wealth, BP know where to find the wealth, you name them, they know where to find the wealth, and they take it to their level. But we could also go and acquire the wealth, but it takes us to work together.
Baba, there is a question there that is being asked by one of the viewers. I don't know if you
No,
want to address that question or you want me to address it.
well, I could think. No, as I was mentioned earlier, I go back to not straight from the question. You spoke about Oriki, you spoke about Orin, you spoke about Ipori, all right? Oriki, Kiki Ori, that
Ori
means
Kiki, Ori Kiki.
yeah, that's that. Oriki is or Kiki Ori, your Ori chant. What do you tell the universe? Orin, Ori, tonal, the Ori sings, the songs of our tradition. Ipo Ori. Either say Ipo Ori could come like the Opon Ori. On the Opon is your destiny. Are you going to pay attention to the instructions that is to guide you to your destiny? Only nobody would have chosen a bad destiny from Orun to Aye. If your destiny is not good, that you want to change your destiny, that means that you are not living in alignment with your true destiny. Your life experience is not really your destiny. A lot of people feel, well, the things I go through life is my destiny. No, your destiny is recorded and recorded through Ifa. This is why we say when people initiate, it's not encouraged to initiate to join a shrine, a temple, but it's to initiate to know your pathway, to be in tune, in alignment with your life path. What is your chapter of the story of life existence, and what will be also your contribution to make the world a better place in this life experience? So yes, there are ways you can change your destiny, you can enhance your destiny.
Yeah, I would think to support what you say, I can imagine for the viewer that the simplest answer would be yes, you can change your destiny. Um, what actually changes is not so much your destiny, because that is something you chose from Orun.
Change that.
What happens is as we come here, we don't come here with a full, at least all of us don't come with a full awareness of what it is we are supposed to be doing. So in the tradition, in Isheshe, we have special rituals that are used to bring this knowledge back to our consciousness. Once this knowledge comes to our consciousness, then we become aware of our action, and through changing the course of our action, it would be apparent that we have changed our destiny. But the reality is that the alignment that you experiences or that you would experience with your Ori tree initiation would bring you to the consciousness that would cause you to act differently, right? But to say, I've heard people talk about losing your destiny. One cannot lose one's destiny. One destiny could be affected through one's action. One's destiny could be affected by one falling into one's lower self and not exhibiting omoluabi, or what we would some people say bad character. But your character contributes greatly to you fulfilling your destiny. So I hope, viewer, that we were able to answer that particular question. Now I see there is another question. Is it Ifa alone that can show me my destiny? Baba, I'm going to take this question. I ain't even going to ask you to answer it. Now, My personal experience has been that there are various systems that exist in the universe that can point one in that direction. But our tradition, our Isheshe, what is consistent with our ancestors and what we do is Ifa. So as a result of that, despite there being other systems that can point you in that direction, our decision before coming was to be a part of this, our Egbe, our society, those around us, those who were in Orun with us, and those that are a part of us are all here to guide us to helping the earth and all the occupants of earth develop towards the improvement of all of humanity. So the answer to that question is no. It is not only Ifa. But for us, the most suitable, workable, practical, plausible, and our Isheshe, what we inherited from our ancestor, guides us through Ifa. Now, I want to say this. Ifa is not prediction. Ifa is a forecast. Ifa can tell you what is likely to happen. Ifa can also show you how to change
what is happening.
what is going to happen. Ifa could guide you through many ways, whether it means adjusting your mentality, your attitude, or making specific forms of sacrifices to change the course of what has been forecasted. The difference between a forecast and a prediction is telling you exactly what is going to occur ahead of time. A forecast gives you an indication of what is likely to occur. The modern dictionaries would make you believe it's the same with the denotative definitions. But there is a difference between forecasting and predicting. And the difference is with Ifa, what you get is a forecast, not a prediction. So if I can give you clear ideas what your future may hold. But Ifa also, if it anticipates any difficulty, would also lay out a direct plan for you, whether it is modification of behavior, whether it is to stay away from a particular thing, to avoid or to avert a negative occurrence in your future. Again, viewer, I hope that answers that question.
But I'll also be biased to say Ifa might be the best. That's biased. You
No,
know,
it is the best for us,
no,
but
well,
it may not be the best for everyone else.
but as I thought, it is what better be the best. You know, there's the essay speak about the seer and the diviner. You know, the seer saw that the king Olofin is going to have 200 babies born from his 200 wives. If I say no, he's going to have 201. You know, but it's really, I go into full details, but when it was time to give birth, 199 of the wives gave birth and they each gave a bouncing baby. The last wife, she had some labor problems, so she had a little delay in her labor. But when she gave birth, she ended up giving birth to twins. So the prediction by Miller of 201 to Ifa was more accurate than the seer who said yes, he's going to have 200 babies. But it's saying there are different cultures, and each culture has a way of explaining or looking at life path. We in the diaspora, we might be connected to other races, other things due to slavery, to people, mixed marriages, mixed cultures, But in terms of when we say we are celebrating or practicing our tradition, our life path, our way as Ifa Orisa practitioners, we have to be confident in the things that we practice. And one way to develop the highest level of confidence is being well educated. Because we went through the school system and had confidence that Christopher Columbus had discovered certain parts of the world. And we would answer in confidence, and then, but wait now, you cannot discover someplace where people has already been traveling and thing. So his discovery was in terms of his experience, but it would not be he that would be the first one to discover these things. So as we travel this life journey, the whole experience is a life journey. That's what I said with the Ori, Kiki Ori, the Orins. The songs are our songs. And when we look at Orisha, we are the incarnation of the Orishas that was here walking the earth.
Definitely.
The Orishas is in our DNA,
Well, Baba, I want to just, it's what you now say, and something that I was saying earlier, is one of the fundamental principles of Ifa Orisha for people to understand. The teachings of Ifa is very clear. It expresses that every Oreo or every individual is incarnated by a specific Odu. All right? And the principal Odus are associated to specific Orishas.
Yeah.
Right. And in the case of the Orishas being an archetype, what this does is it highlights or it accentuates particular aspects of the characteristics of persons born under specific Odus, right? This is not to be taken as any reason to abuse a particular type of behavior. This is something that we've spoken about time after time. Not because you're born under a particular Odu and you have particular characteristics, that means that you are going to live a life out of balance because particular aspects of that archetype is highlighted. Well, let me use examples. You would hear people talking about Oshun, you would hear people talking about Shango, right? But yet they would only highlight certain negative aspects or exaggerated aspects of the traits of Oshun or the traits of Shango.
Well, you said it correctly. They are perceptions. Because if you really go to the true essence or the true characteristics of these Orishas, our perception would have been misguided according to the other side. Because
it's easy for it to be misguided if one were to, for example, follow a lot of the myths and the stories that are told of the Orishas without understanding the philosophical concepts and the constructs of how the Odus are properly interpreted.
So that's why I say it is important that people get the right education. Now, when we say Ifa, by the way, I don't like when you use it, but there's the priesthood that I would say that's called the Cult of Ifa. And then there are the principles of Ifa, which is the words of God according to how man should live. Because even the trees, the animals, the nature, everything follows advice or follows instruction according to Ifa.
Well, Baba, while I agree with you, the problem, all right, for example, we do this program, and a lot of the viewers may notice I don't throw around a lot of SAEFAs. And one of the reasons I don't do that is I'm not an Ifa expert. I'm not a Babalawo. Right? I know the rules that exist. There are 6 and 8 rules for interpreting SAEFAs. And the reason I don't throw them around is because one has to have a certain level of understanding of the language in order to be able to properly decipher what is in these essay Ifas. And there are a lot of people who go around throwing essay Ifas around all the time.
Right.
And
No,
really, do they understand it?
right.
Hardly.
No, I
So
was
to
saying,
me,
yeah, I was saying, there, those who want to go on that pathway, the priesthood, the sect that want to go into divination, interpreting Voodoo, doing divination, they will have to go into the studies and learn the principles. But the messages of Ifa is for the world, even for the basic man. So that's why I say, even when somebody sits for divination, the person who's doing the divination, the client, the message is to them, yes, but also the full message is for the whole community. So the principles of Ifa, the guidance of Ifa, is what we should be learning. So in terms of knowing the words of Ifa, is within, even if we keep in our Orisha prayers, we keep in our Baptist prayer, we keep in whatever prayers, just as how we'll read the first lesson, the second lesson, and the foundation, and then we go into discussions. Also, just so Ifa is, the essay would read, but now the interpretation, the story, the mythology of what comes out of that message from the Odu is what now is to educate the wider society. Although it will give instructions to the person, it also is to educate the wider society.
well then, Baba, while you're on that note,
Yeah.
then we should underscore the importance of daily devotion,
No.
4-day prayers, 16-day prayers,
All right.
91-day prayers. Because
No, you
you
can't.
mentioned for the community, then for the family, then
Right.
for the individual. There
So
are
this is
all different
right.
divinations that
So
has to be practiced.
for the person to do Asher Ifa, which we say with 5-day worship.
4 days or 5 days,
Oh,
depending on how
what
it's
is
counted. Because the fifth day is actually the first
right.
day.
So that day that you did it, you count day 1, and then 4 days after, I come back to the 50. Right? So it understand, even for you to do Asher Ifa, you're sitting with your children, you're sitting with your wife, your husband, your family to go to Ifa. Okay, do the ebo, yes, so say the Ricky. What is the message you are sharing with your children? So those were the basic stories now, is that because now the stories will give us a better how do we apply Ifa into our life? How do we live the lifestyle, Ifa Orisha lifestyle? Because we can't just say Ifa is a way of life, but we are not applying it in our life. So even doing Osher, the Oriki, the essay for Oriki Osher, will speak about Obatala when he was called by Oler Mari, that he shall create the days, and he called the days and he gave the separate date, and then they say, okay, this day will be given to you, that day will be given to Ogun, this day given to Ifa, and this day will given to Shango Jakuta, all these stories. So even if you go this story where Obatala will keep his festival, Ifa keep his festival, Ogun will keep his festival, but every time Jakuta is going to do his festival, it's rain, it's thunder, all kind of problem. He can't get through. What going on? So he go to Ifa for divination. He say, Shango is vexed because he didn't get that day and he want that day. So saying Jakuta is one that of his level, he could give Jakuta trouble. So he say, what you could do? They say, okay, what? Appeal Shango thing, and so Shango, they went and appeals with Shango and they agree. Shango say, well, he get it. But Jacob said, no, you go ahead and have the day. I will still be celebrated when the day is coming. So it shows that sometimes even somebody might be close to you could still be the obstruction in the progress of one doing one. It also shows that sometimes you could come to an agreement in which we can move progress despite what one would have done. Oh yes, okay, you keep me back so long, I forgive you. Let me go forward. So there's a lot of teachings, even in just in the Osher, keeping Osher Day, because there's a lot of Odu that will speak of Osher Day and the importance of Osher Day. So if we are not sharing the information, we are not giving the basic literature. I say we have to give people the full book of Odu, but basic literatures. People should be collecting Osher Day. You initiate here's your Ikim, or here's your Orisha, here's your warrior, and here's your Oshe book. You understand? That's how every religion has given people the basic practice. Here is your Oshe book. So according to whatever temple and whatever Oriki or whatever Orisha they would take, they suppose, so you deal in Shango, Oya, Ibeji, Oshe book. So even in your Oriki, you don't have Oriki for Oya, Shango, so you can still do your Oshe Shango, because Oshe is not for Ifa alone. Oshe is where every Orisha will have their Oshe day. Oguna has every 5 days, Shango every 5 days, Obatala every 5 days, Ifa every 5 days, and the Orishas that work with them on those every 5 days. So somebody, I have a relay, me and Ifa, okay, well, a relay does work with Ogun. Well, every Ogun Oshe day, you're supposed to be doing Oshe Ogun, and you feed your relay, and in your Oshe book or your Oshe prayer manual, you can say your Rikis and they sit with your family and they tell you stories and the principles. Why do you worship a relay? You don't just worship spirit because the spirit or the rituals have an impact in our lives. And we should be able to share with our children what is the impact the spirit have in our life, because now that comes like, if the father has Shango, then the Orisha is Orile, Orisha Orile, the Orisha of the family or the Orisha of the house. Your father has Shango and you ain't worshiping Shango, then you're not practicing Ifa lifestyle. Yeah, Ifa, oh, well, my husband is Ifa, I also. No. All you have Ifa. So all you have to practice, and while you feeding Ifa, you also feed Oshun on the Oshe day. Because it is a lifestyle, but it is a collective lifestyle. So the practice at home, make it easy so when you come into the temple, you might be called to sit and assist in the Nisan Ifa or in the Itadogun Ifa, and you can be able to sit, and even when the recital of the Rikis are going, the membership could respond in the right response that are necessary. Most of the songs that we sing now, is because, all right, people might choose the first line and second line. So you're saying, Shango, Babawa, Shango, and they just call and response, because if they go to do the whole song, a lot of people didn't catch it, because we have no forum in which brings people to the whole song.
Well, Baba, fortunately, you know, in the future, we should be able to ensure that such things are put in place so that the generations after us will be able to fully practice their Isheshe with correctness and accuracy with the guidance that is provided for them.
Now
we have to do our part.
We have to do it. Even if it's a confederation of Ifa practitioners, come together and set the mandate. No, because if other groups are not doing it, we can't knock them why all are not doing it. Because there were a lot of things has not happened. Everybody asking everybody why they're not doing it. Why all they coming together? Well, so even people who say why Orisha people ain't come together, you invite them to a meeting, you know they ain't coming. And those who come now, they may not like what they do. Well, people, but we can only think if everybody make a contribution. But I think that's one thing we need to do. Every person that initiate, because the first practice after initiate is to practice your Oshe day. So even if when I say when one should initiate himself over and over again, that really means every time there's an initiation, as I initiate, you should go and support the initiation. So basically, technically, you'll be reinitiated again. So the things you might not remember from your initiation, you'll get the remembrance experience, because now you're watching, oh, yes, I remember they did that. Oh, yes, I really remember when he was doing so on. I remember when they tell me to do this. So you're reinitiating yourself every time you support an initiation, and you get a deeper understanding in terms of the practice that you do it. And or even if you look in the terms of the process of initiation, there's process of the Oshe, there's processes of the Ita, there's portions of the in the initiation ritual as well, you know, because as some school teach, there's 5 elements that makes up our rituals. Praise to the Olodumare, the supreme recognition of the creation that have us here.
Iba.
The consecration, libation, our petitions, and the offerings. Those are the 5 elements. So you will see it in all the ritual, because if you don't have that, something, you know, something is missing here. Because you can't just start and then say Iba, but before you say Iba, who's the first you have to open a phone all around, or you say Olodumare Oba Jiki, or Mojiba Olodumare. You must give Olodumare praise first.
Definitely. Baba, we have 5 more minutes.
All right. So in terms of our progress, because remember, I'm still on the restoration. And even as today being Ode, let us also restore our connections to Onile, Mother Earth, Maleta, Aye, and all the Orishas that resides within her. Even us as Orisha, because we reside on earth. Our Ori is the supreme Orisha, resides on earth. We're trying to go on earth in space, but we still have to come back here. So let us, as we come to this level, restoring ourselves in this age of Aquarian age, we're supposed to be the age of awakening. Yes, we can wake up in this time in our life, but take notice of the younger ones. They awaken to a level, but if they are seeking us to guide them, we have to teach them from an awakened state of consciousness and not still be sleeping and trying to tell them how to become awoken. All right? I don't have any closing statement. All right?
Well, Baba, not really, but I would just close off by I would do one of the I would read rather Oriki that is related to progress and prosperity in closing. I mean, it's an unusual thing, but I'm going to do it just for today's show.
Yeah, no.
Eni shieno nimo, which means a person adds to what he already knows. Eji jiji liekpon agbon oji ija. It means no matter how much the testicle of a ram shakes, it does not sever from its body. Mataku numa tarun danu. This means I will survive the cold hands of death. Bi abari adife oye lagbo. It means a long discussion takes as long as the journey to Ife. Maruka shamadami. When I eat fire, I will swallow it. Efa uli ifa ano oniti iroko. It means the hoe drags home gifts from inside and outside the house. Biag horobati shoro akeji. It means when the priest serves his divinity, it lasts 7 days. Uami asun imi asun. It means I will prosper in life as well as beyond. Inuwale ayo korita. I will succeed in life and hereafter. All right. So this is just some encouragement as to what or how one should approach life in order to experience some measure of prosperity. All right. And with that, I would like to say, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Go ahead, Baba.
Before you think, the 29th of May, we having a divine feminine, right? A gathering of female to understand their collectiveness. It won't be directly in Ifa Orisa, because when they speak about feminine energies, it have no race, it have no culture, no no belief system, but they have the principal laws that governs feminine energies. All right, it'll be the 29th. We confirming the venue, but we'll be asking for a contribution of 300 to cater for the meals and preparations for the event, as well as if mothers or persons can sponsor sister, sponsor daughter, sponsor elderly, sponsor mother, because a lot of we may see that will be good for somebody, but when the girls and them go astray, then after we study what we could do to help them. So sometimes we need to, especially young ones. Last night in the community, there was a lot of noise, and then it's because the issues of young girls doing their own thing, and then police had to come in. But why you have to reach there? Because what is the society that we are putting for them as practitioners? What we have for them to come to guide them to understand their femininity, their sacredness, the sacred womb. To understand, and that won't be done by no male, because too many times you hear me trying to teach women to understand feminine, but it be by women expressing and communicating with other women to take themselves to a level, right? But this will be the first number series. So what viewers pay attention as we try to bring some of the speakers onto our programs in coming up to the program, the divine feminine.
All right. And with that, we would say Odabo.
Odabo.
See you next week.
Next Friday.